In this video, I am going to try and go through the American inequalities. For some of you that came to the revision session in the last week of term, this might be a little bit similar. Hopefully it gives you some help because I'm aware not everybody could come to that, and that's absolutely fine. That's why I want to go through a couple of these things with you, okay? And remember, you have to start this essay with, I've studied America, I've studied US. What I would also be very aware of here is, what is the question specifically asking you? Now, I see this happen each year as a marker. People start writing this essay on their world power and they start bringing in British examples because you have done a whole unit on UK social inequalities. It is really, really important that you make sure that you don't have the same examples. So think about that if it's going to help your revision to pick different paragraphs for this one so that you don't fall into the trap of using a UK or a Scotland or English example, okay? I see it happen all the time. I've seen it happen before where someone has written a beautiful social inequality essay, but they've done it in the world power section and they've used it all about UK and they can't get marks because it specifically talks about UK in their essay. Vice versa, don't use America examples in your British unit. What that means is read the question, read the section, read the question carefully, don't get caught up. Remember, you can plan before you even start writing your essays, okay? You can, that first page of the book or the back page of the book or whatever you like if your answer book. I've also seen plans be done on the actual exam paper because there's lots of space at the bottom of each page. You can write on them, doesn't matter, okay? They're not going to be reused, not in an exam situation. We'd use them in school, but not in an exam situation, okay? So this is America. We're looking at world power, remember, not world issue, world power specifically. You will see the kind of questions that come up here. Socioeconomic inequality significantly impacts a group. Notice how that is group singular. Therefore, you need to carefully talk about a group. My advice here is to go with ethnic minorities. That gives you more scope throughout your essay to talk about, be African American or Hispanic. The reason that I'm saying that is some people will do a world power and they will look at gender as their group. So they will look at the male-female divide. Other people will do their groups such as the elderly and children, so by age. We focus specifically on ethnic minorities. Therefore, I would recommend you use that phrase or something similar. If you in your introduction state the group I am going to talk about is the Black community or African American community, don't panic about the wording. You won't get marked down if you interchange those, but you then will have to reference that group throughout, which means you can't talk about Hispanics or others. That's why I'm saying ethnic minorities is a good idea to go for, gives you plenty of scope. You want to indicate that group in your introduction. So you want to, in your introduction, make sure you state social economic inequalities affect many groups, such as ethnic minorities in the United States. Some of the inequalities that they face are crime, health, education, whichever three that you're going to go for is the bulk of your paragraphs, okay? You will then see 2022 question. It's pretty much the same. They've flipped the wording round. You will then see 2021, analyse the effects of inequality on a group you have studied. So tell me why it's good or tell me why it's bad. To what extent does it exist? So on and so forth. Very similar questions come up for this one. The wording trips people up. Socioeconomic is social and economic. The only way here you could get caught out is if they say to what analyse the effect of an economic issue on people. You have to read the question. If it says economic only, it's to do with money. If it says social only, it's to do with people. That's why this next bit that is coming up matters, okay? So like I say here, I've got that advice about the groups, but make sure you read the question. On this grid, now this is something that I was showing some of you who were able to make it to the revision session after school just before the Easter holidays. If I was wanting a cheat sheet, a crib sheet, this is what I'd be making myself. Now, the reason I haven't filled in is because that's up to you. How many of these things do you need? Correct, thank you. You only need 3. Yes, if you want to nail this essay and have a potential 20 out of 20, you can do 4 paragraphs. 100% you can do 4, because if you get 5 marks in each paragraph, plus your 2 structure marks, you're 20 for 20. But you can get away with 3 strong paragraphs. In all honesty, at this point of the year, with 2 weeks to go, sorry, I have to say it, with like 2 weeks to go, you need to be working smarter. Not necessarily harder, you're already working very hard, so work smarter, be realistic. What is realistically going to go into your head? Because they could ask a question that is like economic, I would strongly recommend that you pick employment or poverty as one of your factors. They're separate, so you can do them separately or you can group them together, but I would make sure that you've got at least one of those, because that way if economic comes up, you can cover it. If social comes up, you can cover it. Personally, I would do crime, health and employment, because the fact that healthcare is not free in America, they don't have an NHS, you have to pay insurance. A lot of that you know without revising. What I mean by that is a lot of you already know Americans have to pay health insurance. You literally see it in the TV programs that you binge, okay, or the films that you watch on the streaming platforms. Therefore, if you know that, that's in your brain already, and it's not all new information. So what I would be thinking here is, what is it? Tell me what the factor is. Is it that there are certain groups of people not getting access to insurance? Is it that there are certain groups more likely to end up in jail for drugs charges? Is it that there are groups who are not getting access to school or college or university? Again, see if you muddled up the words college and university in this essay, I wouldn't be marking you down because I know what you mean, okay? If you want to work very, 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 very smart here, plan this one at the same time you plan the responses essay. Don't get them confused. If the question, let me go back. If the question is asking you about the impact of an inequality, you have to stick to that. Don't tell me the responses. Equally, I'm going to do another video if you've not already seen that one, and I'm going to talk about the responses. Don't tell me everything about the inequality. You have to tell me what the government is trying to do to stop or reduce it, okay? So I would do them in tandem. For what I mean by that is, if I'm doing crime for this one, I would do crime in my responses. If I'm doing health in this one, I would do health in my responses. You're only writing one America essay. You will only in your exam write one America essay. Can you make your examples work for both? You might be going, what do you mean? If you're doing health and you're talking about the percentage of a group who don't have access to insurance, you can use that in this one for the who suffers. Can you also use that one in your responses? As in, why do the government need to respond to this problem? Because this percentage of Hispanics don't have health insurance. Think smarter, work realistically and work smarter. Have an example that works in one that you can use in the other. Because see, as a marker, I don't know all the essays you planned. You will only write one America one. Therefore, I'm hoping this makes sense, because I'm aware I can't see your face to see if it makes sense. I can imagine some of the higher faces just now. You know who you are, right? If you're watching this, you know who you are. But think of it that way. Think logically, right? If I'm talking about crime, which group here in my who suffers is disadvantaged? Will that example work for my responses essay as well? That's half the battle done. So for this essay, when you're talking about groups impacted, you need the who suffers. Are you going to talk about African Americans, Asians, Hispanics? Are you talking about ethnic minorities as a whole? All of those are fine. Do you have proof? Do you have a percentage, a statistic, a fact, a figure? Remember, in modern studies, you can round about, nearly, almost, in the region of, approximately. Words like that are your best friend here. Then you want to tell me, why is this an issue? Why is this an inequality? Why is this a problem? If they're stuck in prison, what are they going to lose? Their job, their family. If they lose their job and their family, what happens when they get let out? Oh, would you look at that? They return to crime, the cycle of crime, because they've got no way to escape. So think about why this is an issue. If they don't have healthcare, what will they not be able to go to? School or college or a job. If they don't go to school, what do they not get? An education. If they don't get an education, they don't. Do you see where this knock-on affects? That's where your why is this an issue? Now, This is where I have jumbled together the responses here as well. If you were doing, I can't even put my hand up, that's not very helpful, Miss Smith. If you were just doing the inequalities, you would stop after the why is this issue and you would start to tell me how it's no longer an issue or it's no longer an inequality, okay? If, however, you're working smarter here in your revision, this is where you want to think about your solution. What is a government response that's coming in? Do you have evidence of this government response working? Do you have evidence of it not working? So on this grid, I have some questions for you to think about that might help prompt you if you're filling that out or you're making revision notes, such as who doesn't get an equal education? Why is it unequal? What does that mean? What are the problems of the future? Those are the questions that will help your analysis skills. That if you answer those in your essay, that's going to get you analysis, maybe even some evaluation marks, okay? I have also given you a structure here. You can change this, you can edit this, but this will give you some ideas where to go, okay? So I'm going to stop this one here, nice and short. So think, because I'm aware you're struggling with this one, think logically about it. I'm going to do responses video as well, which will piggyback onto the back of this for you.